All right, folks. Good morning, first of all. And for the folks, just in case if you're joining us from a different time zone, then good afternoon as well as good evening. So I'd like to begin you all. I'd like to begin by welcoming you all to this event, first of all. And I know with a lot of virtual events going on, it's quite hard for you to still show interest and come to an event, and that too being a weekend. But thank you so much for having that spirit, and keep coming back to all the events that we organize. I'm pretty sure this will definitely be worth your time. So please hang on and stay tight. Okay. So as you would have already read all our posters, all our ads, this is going to be a half-day virtual event that will be completely focusing on the Microsoft Power Platform, right? So I believe everybody who's here understands what Microsoft Power Platform is. It's something which comprises your Power BI, Power Platform, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agents. Okay, so all our sessions today is going to be completely hands-on. When I say hands-on, it's not some kind of a lab, but we'll be seeing a lot of demos, and these sessions are delivered to you by Microsoft MVPs as well as community leaders. So these are the folks who have been on this area for quite some time. They're quite comfortable with what they are doing, and they're really knowledge and experienced in that. So it's going to be a lot of learning today. So please stay attentive on the session and try to gain some knowledge for yourself. So with that, I also want to tell you that you also get to win an exciting prize. And just hold on for a minute. I'll be talking about the criterias for winning that prize later in this deck. So this is our complete event agenda as of today, right? So as I said, we just have a half day event. And this is something very new that we've been doing because if at all you've attended our previous events, we would be doing a complete full day event, right? And most of the time we used to get a feedback saying that, I mean, your sessions are good, but sometimes it really gets overwhelming where it runs for the complete day and one could literally end up biting more than what he could really chew, right? So we didn't want to really go that route. So this time we said, let's keep it simple. Let's do a half day event and let's see how it all works. I hope you folks would love this model, but let's see. From an agenda perspective, we have the first session will be by Chen, who's a Microsoft MVP, and he'll be talking about Power Automate Azure Administration, right? And then followed by that, we have Feroz, who's also a Microsoft MVP, and he'll be talking about accelerating with RPA capabilities. Followed by that, we have Satish Natarajan, who's also a Microsoft MVP, and he'll be talking about secure and gown Microsoft Power Platform environments. And finally, we have leveraging AI builder model and Dataverse and Power Apps by Srushti. And we also have a very young speaker. So she's been talking a lot of late in many events, and we really wanted to bring her and give her a chance in this event. I believe she's just 14 years old. She's a school kid, but she's really been doing amazing stuff in this space. So we really wanted to hear from her as well. She's going to be talking about creating mixed reality apps with Power Apps. Okay, so this is our event agenda. As I said, it's quite simple. It's quite compact, and I think it'll really solve the purpose. So these are some session guidelines. No, nothing really rocket science here. It's really simple. So the planned duration for each and every single session is going to be 60 minutes. Okay. Now this is really key here because we cannot extend a session more than 60 minutes because these are series of sessions. Unlike our previous events, we are not going to do, one meeting invite is just for one session, right? We can't, that model is not going to work here. So these are going to be series of sessions. And for all the folks here, we will be using the same meeting invite for the complete event. Okay, you can just stay on this meeting invite and all the sessions will be running, one after the other on the same Teams meeting invite. And each session is for 60 minutes. So for the speakers as well as the attendees, please be mindful if at all you're asking questions, if there are some back and forth conversations, please be mindful of the time because we do not want your session to get spilled over. Okay. Questions, we always love to have questions, and so does our speakers. So, it will really make sense to post your questions on the chat so that the speaker can go back to the Q&A chat and he can look at your questions and start answering them. But for whatever reason, if at all you feel that you want to unmute and ask, so please hold on till the end, right? Because if you do it during the session, it's simply going to drag the time. And if at all you're not part of our meetup group yet, please go ahead and use this link and join our meetup group because we have a lot of amazing stuff that is planned for the rest of this year. All right, so from the price perspective, right, that is going to be a quiz session which we'll be running using Kahoot. And these questions are not some random questions that we are going to ask from somewhere. These are all the questions which will be coming from today's session. So which is why I keep telling that we really want you to pay utmost attention to other sessions. All these questions will be coming from this sessions only. Okay, we have made it in such a manner that we have picked two questions from each session. So take notes, do whatever you want, but the questions will be coming from these sessions only. Okay, and one more important guideline here is it's just 20 players who get to who gets to play the Kahoot. So the Kahoot will be towards the end of the event. We'll be doing it around 2:15 to 20 p.m. types, and Narasimha Perumal will be running that. Okay, and the prize that you get to win is a Echo Show 8 first gen. I mean, this is something which you can't simply afford to miss. So, as I said, please go ahead and pay attention. And I really don't want this to be as the selling factor for this event. It is just a way to, sort of, encourage you. But the biggest takeaway here is the knowledge that you gain. Okay. And finally, I want to take a moment to thank all our sponsors, which is Microsoft and Pantera Technologies, because without them, pulling an event of this sort is simply not possible. So with that, I'm done talking. And folks, if at all you haven't unmuted yourself, please do that, because that is simply going to disturb the spirit of this event. With that, let me go ahead and hand it over to Chen. So Chen, over to you.
Hey, Vignesh, thanks a lot. Hope I'm loud and clear.
Yep, you are.
Great. Thanks a lot, Vignesh, for your linear, precise, and concise introduction. That was great and awesome. I hope that will help all our attendees. Hope you're ready for the first session of the event. Shall I go ahead and share my screen now, Vignesh or Narasimha Perumal? Can we start over? Thank you. Let me do it right away.
Yeah, your screen is clear. You're good to go.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for the confirmation. Hi all, welcome to our Global Power Platform Bootcamp Bangalore Chapter 2022. And I would like to take a minute to thank our sponsors, Microsoft and Pantera Technologies. And it's been great help they have done as a community, and they have got a lot of, they spent a lot of effort to organize this event. So I just want to thanks a lot for them, for all the organizers, volunteers. And the session, what I'm going to talk today is about Power Automate Azure Administration tasks. And myself, Chandrayan Venkatesan, I'm a Microsoft MVP in Cloud and Data Center. And my main stream is PowerShell. I've spent a couple of years working only on PowerShell to automate infrastructure. That's starting from on-premises. I'm former SharePoint administrator too. And slowly I moved on to the cloud surface, and I started working for the cloud automation as a platform engineer. At present, I work with Shell India Markets Private Limited. So our today's agenda is introduction to the Power Automate, and I'm going to give an overview about it and little bit nuances to know what Power Automate is all about. We're going to talk about the Azure administration, though it is not in detail, but just want to know what we do as an administrator in day-to-day tasks. So we're going to automate some boring tasks in the sense the repetitive tasks which we do, or like a level 1, level 2 operational challenges, or kind of repetitive tasks which they get as a ticket and they want to close it off, and how they can avoid some human errors. So we need to focus more on what Power Automate does for that, and how we can utilize Power Automate features to overcome it. If you remove the Azure administration from here, you can fit in anything, something like a SQL administration, or anything you call it as an YAS, PaaS, or any other cloud. If connectors are available, you can go ahead and build some connectors, and yeah, you can think about any administration. So if you ask me what is Power Automate, this is how I would like to introduce to you all. It's just a service, right? So it is going to allow you to automate more quickly and securely. Automate what? Automate any kind of a process which is in place, be it kind of like administration tasks, or you are going to do some business process, or you are working on some kind of Excel online. You have some data that needs to be processed and sent it across to the multiple sources, or you want to store it somewhere, or you want to integrate and workflow with the data. So you can use Power Automate very well. Using this, you can improve the efficiency. That means Consider that you're going to process some data, all right? So once you are done with the formula, or you know what exactly you're going to do, you can go ahead and record it to the Power Automate and say that this is what I have to do on weekly or daily, and that's going to give you the efficient result. And also Power Automate allows you to enhance the workflows with AI, artificial intelligence, though we are not going to get deep dive on it. Just want to give you an insight that it has a feature. So you can go ahead and explore that. So I've given a hyperlink here. I know that I'm not going to open that here. You can use this deck to learn in detail about the Power Automate overview. Right? So this is the uses of Power Automate. As I said, we can automate the repetitive tasks like moving data from one system to another, but that's not limited to it, right? We can do a lot more integrations from one system to other system. Consider that you have got some kind of an alert, you need to act on that alert. It can be sort of a reactive process, like you just go ahead and take action on it, or you just notify it, be it anything. So you can go ahead and use a Power Automate feature, either using the inbuilt connector, or you can just build a custom connector quickly using Function app or some open API. That's not going to be a challenge. There are 275 plus connectors available, so you can just make use of it. I'm pretty sure any enterprise standard services, be it like a Twilio or you call something like Exchange or SharePoint, all these connectors are available in that, right? So you can make use of it. And also consider like a user through process. That's mean like an onboarding or an offboarding, and you need to guide a user complete through the stages, what they have to do from the beginning to end to achieve some goals or to complete some tasks. Power Automate can help you out in that. And also it enables to connect to the external data sources. Here external data sources is like be it any non-Microsoft or Microsoft services. Okay. I'm pretty sure that you might have heard about the tool called Outsystems, right? So Outsystems is one of the tool which you can correlate with Power Automate, but that was introduced way before. Power Automate is something like more of Microsoft integrated services, but also it can connect to the external services. But Outsystems is especially for non-Microsoft, right? So if you guys have got some experience on it, and if you don't know what Outsystems is, it's worth to take a look on their website, and it's really a cool one. So it has got a couple of other features too, but you can't compare Power Automate and Outsystems. Though the characteristics wise both does the same, it has its own pros and cons. Coming to the next use case of the Power Automate is the automating desktop-based process. That can be sort of a robotic process automation, that RPA capabilities. I don't have any demo or example to showcase, but Feroz is going to continue that. So he is going to give some nuances of RPA. That's going to be the next session. And I've got another hyperlink here to learn the Power Automate. I have pinged that in the group chat also. That's a 30 minutes module from Microsoft Learn. That's simple and straightforward to understand what Power Automate does and how we can go ahead and get the hands-on experience. Right. So here are the few examples of Power Automate. Consider that you run a shop and you want to build some order purchase system, or you need to just build some kind of inventory, whatever you need to do. You can just power it up with the Power Automate. Say, for example, connecting to the multiple APIs for the billing or for the inventory databases or some sort of things. So that makes your job easy. So the Power Automate is not a no-code service. It's a low-code or no-code. So either you have to do some sort of a code to get the task accomplished, or you can just go with no code at all. So you can just pull out two different services, integrate it, and you can get that job done too. But it fully depends on the scenario or for the task or exercise we are going to build, the task which you're going to accomplish. It depends on that. You can just pick up the low code or no code. And this is the first time I'm coming up without a code, because I've built everything using the Power Automate service. I've not touched any PowerShell script or any kind of a code or a template. All I have used is only the ARM template. I will show it in the demo. That's the example. So provisioning of Azure resources with an approval and sort of an event-driven automation. So there are a lot of things available in and around Azure, right? So consider the Azure Monitor. Azure itself has given the security center, or that it has given a lot of other services to do the automation, including the Azure DevOps too, where you can run multiple tasks or the scheduled tasks to get the job done. A lot of things, but I want to consolidate and get it under one roof. I'll tell you why I have to do that. Before that, I just want to walk you through the data to work with the Power Automator, because we need to feed in some data or we need to extract some data, retrieve some data from there. So what are all the major stuffs you can see from there is the Microsoft Dataverse, Salesforce, Dynamics 365, Google Drive, and O365 too. This is what I have got it from my experience. But if there is anything more, you can look into the website I've pinged you that should have more information about it. This is the common area which we can work with. So if you say O365, I'm sorry, that's a Microsoft 365 now. You can have multiple services underneath that itself. That can be SharePoint, that can be your Teams, that can be Exchange Online. All these Office servers and service data, you can access it and you can integrate it. But you need to just give the authorization for that. I'm pretty sure it can be like a bit theory for all the newbies, like thinking like how we can start over and stuff. I will definitely show that in my demo. So before that, we need to know what are all the flows available, different types of flows. As I said, like Power Automate is a service where it allows you to build some orchestration workflows and integration. The backbone behind is nothing but the flows. So there are three different types of flows. One is event-driven flows, business process flows, and another one is a desktop flows. So I've highlighted it. What is the key difference? So the event-driven flows has a characteristics. It has a my flow and a team flow. So the my flow is nothing but where it is completely owned by you, and team flow is it's like more than one owner. Wherein like in my flow, you're the sole owner. So there are like a lot of other characteristics associated to that. So you can just go through that event-driven flows in that link. So that will give you the complete insight about it. We have covered a little bit of the business process flows also. That is like to associate with your model driven apps. There is other service also called couple of applications which you can build, right? The UI part, you can associate it with that as well, the Power Automate, or you can directly fire the API using a custom connector. That is also possible. There are a couple of other things which you can do with that. So the desktop flows is mainly focusing on the RPA. I personally don't have any experience working on that, but still anyways, you have a session on that, right? So you will be getting more information on it. So this is the basics which we need to know. So here comes is one of the fastest quiz I've attended this morning just to understand what's new in the Power Automate, and I think I got most of the answers correct. So this is always good to know. So Power Automate, as I said, it's a service and it's a web-based. It doesn't mean that you can't connect with the Power Automate remotely. That means I want to manage some stuff using the SDKs. Sorry, any questions? No, man. So we can also go ahead and manage that using the PowerShell. So if I say PowerShell, so that means either under the hood, it has to provide me an SDK or it has to provide me an API. So if I can do it through PowerShell, yes, the answer is simple. You can do that using Python if you know the API to administer the Power Automate, or if you can get the SDKs. I'm pretty sure I'm not experienced using the SDKs because it's of no use. The essence of Power Automate is all about like low code and no code. No matter writing a script and managing it, but still that is possible if in case your business is in need and your scenario demands, or you need to manage something remotely rather than getting onto the browser. So that's possible. There are two major modules I've seen for that. I don't remember by name though, but you can go to the PowerShell gallery and pull out for the Power Apps, Power Automate. You can get some information about the modules. So you can authenticate it and use the commandlets for that. So about the flow templates, yes, of course, Power Automate has a builder website where you get all the templates by yourself. There is nothing like you have to import it from some packages and stuff. You can directly get into the browser and get the information for the template or whatever you're going to build. So that is available in that. Okay, so here comes the how can data source be used with the Power Automate. So as I said, it has got some 275 plus connectors. You can just make use of it. So connectors are nothing but a wizard sort of thing, which will allow you to key in some meta. That's just a parameter values, and that will establish a connectivity. So I'm going to start over the demo and then walk you through all the steps. So here are the key takeaways. As I said, like Power Automate is a web-based service for automating a business process. So we are clear what is Power Automate is all about. At least the basics we know. Okay, so it's just a web-based service for automating a business process. What we are going to automate is up to us. We pick up the scenario, we work on some kind of the task which is being given to us, and we need to ensure that we have the right license to work with it and get the job done. If in case the connectors are not available, either we're going to build a connector or we're going to opt a new solution. It's completely on us. And Power Automate has a different offerings, something like an event-driven flows, business process flows. That's what we explained in the previous deck, right? So we can also pick the one which meets our requirement. I've never got into any kind of issues or a confusion looking into it because I always pick up automated flow, and that helped me a lot to build some kind of a task what I want to do. And as I said, like Power Automate also enables connecting to different data sources through the built-in connectors. The connectors can be of any choice. I will quickly show it after this deck so that you can think about it, like what you want to build at your workplace. And also, if you know your business process, as I said, like you can bring in your automation, and you don't need to write a traditional code, or that means that you don't need to write a script, or you don't need to spend some more time and effort to do the integration, because Power Automate will take care by itself. You will be writing out little bit of templates or something for the Azure administration, because without that you can't administer Azure, right? Because the scenario is like that. We need to go ahead and do something on Azure, so you need to write something. So I don't rely on this 100% because it's kind of a low code. You have to know little bit of ARM template or something you have to go ahead and build, but you don't need to worry about it as a beginner. I'll show you how to quickly do that stuff easily using VS Code extensions. So when it comes to the Azure administration, I was repeating this from the deck first deck. So it's all about like deploying some kind of an Azure resources using ARM templates. If you are around Azure for some more years, you should be knowing like how painful it was to work with Azure to create a resources. Consider if you don't have AZCLI, you don't have Azure PowerShell, or if you don't have SDKs or REST APIs or anything. So we have to get onto the portal and deploy it. But now that we don't need to worry about it, we have got a lot of tools, right? But still, now what happened is administrators are feeling bored because per day, like they get 100 plus requests to create some POC environment that says like, hey, create a storage account, get me the resource group with a couple of resources in it, make sure that you're applying all the policies, get the tags done as expected. And yes, of course, they have to, they'll be busy doing something and they have to get onto this and then open up a PowerShell console, run the ARM template, fill in the parameter, or they go to the pipeline, Azure DevOps pipeline, and then they key in the parameters and then run it. And that is going to the approvers, and then approvers going to click a button, and then we are going to get the resources. We are going to send some email that resource has been successfully done. You do the integration with the service. Now, all these things are still existing in the system. And of course, it is all going to be like a painful process. I'll tell you why. Because running an ARM template is straightforward and simple. You can schedule it and run it. But when it comes to the operation, you need to keep a track of inventory, and also you need to provide a ticket number for auditing every time. For what purpose you have created a resource group, and what kind of a policies is being applied, what kind of a elevated permission is being given to someone, and you need to give subjective records for auditors. So how can we go ahead and automate this? It's all simple process together, right? And also keep a note that Power Automate can help you out only when you can connect the dots. That means you know this is what's going to happen in the next step. If you don't know that, Power Automate is not the right choice. Not only Power Automate, automation itself is not the right choice at that point of time. You have to engage the right engineers to work on the Azure or any of the service, right? Any of the platform or services. Why I want to tell that is, if you can't connect the dots, that if you don't know if there is a process intervening and that's stopping that flow, there is no point automating it. Being an approval process too. But Power Automate helps you out in one way, in very clean slate approval process, as well as helping you out to have a due tasks. So I don't think about any other tools which can help you out in that. Consider that me writing a PowerShell script and deploying n number of resources through Terraform templates in the pipeline or in the release pipeline, getting an approval and doing it from the stages and gate approvals and stuff. There are some limitations available there, but in Power Automate, you can work at these. So the approval process is but easier here. Similar to the provisioning of resources, there comes a cleanup of resources too. Because when a business asks for the POC, they say that, hey, create a VM for me. A week later, they will forget to delete it. If you ask them to delete the VM, consider that there are a lot of other resources associated to a VM. It can be a disks, it's your NIC, it's a public IP address, and a couple of other resources. They don't delete everything. They just go delete the VM, and their assumption, business assumption is they have cleaned up the resources. But we, as administrator, knows there are a lot of other associated resources which is not cleaned, which is not removed. So we can go ahead and do that cleanup of resources using the Power Automate, because we know how to remove the complete resources, being it using the tags, or it can be using some kind of a thing, by it, resource behavior, or you when you're provisioning it, you will tag it, so you can just go ahead and hook up the tag and then delete all the resources. It can be of anything. The other major part as an administrator we work is about the scheduled reporting. By line manager will be asking out some report saying that, can you get me some kind of a fancy HTML report which says like how many resource groups is available in the region wise, or I need something like resource inventory, or non-compliant resource or compliant resources, or kind of events which is being triggered. I just want to monitor it. It can be of any reporting in the Azure, right? So we can do that also using Power Automate, using few simple connectors. It's all about like how we are gonna pick the connectors and work on. So now it's going to be our demo time. First thing, we have to open up the browser to log into the Power Automate. All right. So when you once log into the Power Automate, you can get onto this particular link, or else what you can do is you can just go to the Google and just type in Power Automate. So the first link is going to be a landing page where you can see the Power Automate website, and you can just click on the start free, and then you can end up over here. Once you logged in, you have all the setup ready. The first thing what you need to focus is on the right top corner where your environment is set, because this is very important. You need to make sure of it. I have got my account. I've got my domain here that says like senseoffice365.onmicrosoft.com. But what happened is this is very important information. You need to keep a note because I've got another directory in my Azure. That's where my subscription was residing. So I was keep looking into this account has got owner permission on the subscription, but that was sitting in the different directory altogether. So I just moved the subscription, and that's when I can access it. If you're working on the Azure Active Directory and the Power Platform portal, you make sure that the right directory is set and the right access in place. That's very important one, because I burnt more than an hour considering I don't have an access, and I was removing and re-adding myself without knowing that the directory is more than one in my environment. That's my bad, but just want to give a heads up on it. So here, once you land up here, you should be seeing all your flows here, right? If you don't have one, you will be seeing an option to create one, right? You can also click on the create button from here and go ahead and choose the flow, whatever you want to do. So now I'm just going to click on the automated cloud flow just to show you what kind of connectors you can pick up. The first thing is this is the wizard which you can see in the left pane. You get some information just to give a highlight about like what this flow is all about and what you can achieve it. Just to give you a gist about it. The first thing is you can give a flow name, something like GPP 2022, and then you can choose a flow trigger. So when we used to trigger the task, some kind of an event should occur, right? Either I submit a form, a Microsoft form, or an item in the SharePoint list, or somebody is modifying from the SharePoint. Your source can be anything. Say, for example, I just search for Excel. Okay, that's not going to be the one. So when consider something like a Teams is a good example too. When a new channel message is, what is that, added. So you need to take some action on it. So perfectly you can do that using this kind of a trigger. There are a lot of things which you can see it here. So I just go and click on skip. So now I can go ahead and work from this interface. This is pretty easier for me. Now I just say like I want to do some kind of a scheduled work. So I don't know anything about the connectors by name. I'm just a layman because it's been more than 2 years that I worked on a couple of Power Automate features because I was completely busy working on the Azure side. But I'm using Power Automate at my workplace for the past 3.5 months because it's again back in my portfolio. I'm using this to interface to my Azure Administration automation. So that's when I picked up a couple of use cases here. So now consider that I want to send some kind of email in a kind of a scheduled interval. I can just pick up the scheduler from here. How do I know that? I'm just typing it randomly so that I see some kind of an icon here. So that says schedule. Okay, that means it's going to allow me in a recurrence in a specific interval. So what's the frequency which you can choose here? It can be like a month, week, day, hour, second, or you can just do some enter custom value. I'm not sure whether crons are supported here, but still this is more than suffice for us. So I can do some kind of a hourly every 1 hour or every 6 hours, something like that. I can choose that. And the good feature about this is like you can choose the time zone. This is very helpful. Why? Because when I pick up the Azure function as one of the solution to do some kind of a timer trigger, or I use some kind of a scheduler in the IaaS itself, in the Azure predominantly all the services are going to report in UTC, right? But that gives a confusion because when the operation teams look into the logs and say, you know what, like this happened at this time, they'll be looking into the their local standard time zone and then compare it to the UTC. So that conversion is there all the time, and it's not only on Azure cloud. It was there for us in the on-premises period, because when your data center is residing in Europe somewhere, you work from India or you work from a different location, we need to clock that accordingly, right? So I feel this is a good feature here. So we can just choose whatever the time zone you want to do. So how you have to select this, you can just choose something like here, search and choose it. And then comes is the new step. So this is where you go ahead and say every 1 hour, take some action, right? So trigger is recurrence here. I mean, that's a schedule that is going to trigger every 1 hour, 2 or 3 or whatever the schedule you have defined. Wherein action is you need to go tell what action you have to take when the trigger occurs, right? So here I can just go ahead and choose something like send a mail, for example. So I can choose O365 mail here, and then that will give me an option. Do you need to send an email or you want to delete some contact on the regular interval? There are a lot of actions you can take here, right? Whatever you can achieve it through the APIs. Application programming interface, you can see that as a connector here. So that means I don't need to write a code using PowerShell to invoke an API and then schedule the script in the VM, or I just put it on the Azure function as a timer trigger. No, I don't want to do something like that. I don't need to write a script at all. I can just pick this from here and choose some action. So here I can just key in to whom I have to send a notification email. Before this email, I can take some action too. So let me stop here to show you how to start over the designs and show the existing design what I've got. I've built a couple of flow here. So the first example is I want to start it over from the user interface. So let me get onto the Microsoft Forms. Hopefully I should get logged on to this one now. You have to just make sure that you logged into the right account. Yes, I logged into the right account. So I've got a form designed here. What you see here is just a title, and then it says name the Azure storage account, because Azure storage account has to be in a lowercase. You can't give in some numerical values and other stuff. These information I can give it over here and help my team to, my business users to key in the right storage account names or in any required format, right? So I just want to click on the preview, and then I can just tell that GPB 2022. Okay, 2022 demo, this live demo. So this is my storage account name, and I say this is my storage kind. This is going to be storage V2. You can think about any big resources you're gonna do it, be it a container apps or be it a nested resources you're gonna provision for the complete POC setup, or to take a bigger leg, you can also plan about the cloud adoption framework, the landing zone. You can fire in some kind of a pipeline. Probably I can build one and I can show it, share it with the team later, so you can make use of it, because I'm building one a real world example for the landing zone using the power up. Sorry. Okay, never mind. So here comes another field. I just want to give in some owner information. I just type in some name here, no matter whether it is in lowercase, uppercase. Okay, sorry guys, please be on mute. Okay, so now what happens is I have filled in some information in the form. You can think about the multiple fields or the multiple forms, whatever it is, it can support. And once I'm going to click on the submit, the form is successfully submitted. So I've got a response here. Back here to my flow, I can just go ahead and click on the run history to see whether it is running as expected. I see the status is succeeded in the timestamp 10/14 Feb 19. So what exactly it does? So we need to look into that now. Before getting into the Azure portal, let me show you what this form does. So here is the condition when a new response is submitted. So I need to key in the form ID. So once I logged in, it will automatically give me that in the drop down. I can choose the form from here. So I'm selecting the infrastructure services. This is the form ID because that's my form ID here, right? And then I want to get a response detail. How do you get the responses from the form? You need to add this. Without adding this, you can't get the response. So I'm getting the response ID here so that in the next step, I can go ahead and make use of it. Here I've added a template deployment step. This is to connect with the Azure where I can authenticate it and deploy the resources. I've got my subscription. I've got my resource group. One bad thing I observed here is I can't do the subscription scoping deployment here. I can do only the resource group scoping deployment, but I'm not really sure if that's the case, but that's what I observed. So here I'm just going to say form. You can see here the ARM template. There are a couple of other fields also where you can give the URI, but if you give a URI, you need to make sure how you're passing the parameters here, right? That's not a big deal. You can put a J object and then pass it across. I'm passing the parameters here to my template content because I have a name of the storage account, which I have to create. And I'm going to give a display name tag, and I'm going to create a storage account kind, which I have filled in from here, which is like my storage account name, my storage kind, and the owner name. But if you observe here, I've not used owner name anywhere. That's okay, not a problem. I will quickly do that right away to show you that. Put a comma, make sure that you are not tampering this JSON. So cut it off back here to a template, Azure storage account. So I've just created one JSON file. I have got a ARM template extension installed in my VS Code. So I don't type any ARM template. Instead, I just go ahead and use the snippet. when I type in A, I can see ARM exclamatory. Just choose that. Now I've got the skeleton, which gives the schema, content version, all other details. Once this is started, you can see the ARM schemas is getting loaded in your extension. You need to just sit back, relax, and hold for some more time until it completes, because that's going to help you in the auto intelligence. Now I'm going to click on the resources, push enter. Resources is a collection of resources, so it's an array. You can see that as a square bracket, right? So I just show you how to quickly build a ARM template for the storage account. So you need to just hold for few more seconds until this completes. Anyways, I have copied it, right? So I've got this information. If you copy it from there, you can see the display name as this, because I have parameterized it there, right? So I'm pulling out this information from that system, so I can't make use of that. So now, yeah, now we are good. You can see in the right bottom corner, you see Azure Resource Manager template mode is selected. So again, I type in ARM, and then I go to the resources and say ARM-storage. All right, I got my template ready. Now I just go to this and say my tag as owner name. Okay, I just keep it empty. I copy this now back to my template content. This back to template content, and here should be the name of the storage account, right? And my display name is again name of the storage account. This is the dynamic content which you are taking it from the Microsoft form, because the preceding step is get response details, right? So I'm just taking up the owner detail here, and I click the owner name. I'm good. And next comes is the storage kind. Take it off and click the storage kind. It's that easy. I have not written any script or anything for this, right? So it's pretty simple and straightforward. I'm saving this form. I'm good. Back here, I go to my Azure portal. Previously, we have done some kind of a resource provisioning. I don't know whether that resource is created. Let's quickly see that. This is the resource group I'm using. I've got, yeah, this is the storage account which we created earlier with the tag name, display name of this, right? So now I delete this, copy this, and I just delete it. So I've deleted the storage account. Now back here, I just give demo 1, make sure that things are good, and give a owner name. I want to submit a response. Response is submitted. I'm coming back to my resource group here in deployments. You should see the form deployment is running. The deployment is started here. How do I know this is a form deployment? Because I named my deployment here. If I come to this, I'm submitting a response in a form. I'm retrieving the response using the step get response details, and then I'm using a ARM template deployment. Here I've named my deployment name as form deployment. So that's what exactly we see here. And that started provisioning a storage account. So if I go to the resource, now you should see the owner name as Chenvi. Right. So this sort of an interface you can give it to your business users to provision a POC environment, saying that you don't need to have a human intervention, and just for an auditing purpose and other stuffs, you can log a ticket in ServiceNow through the API connections, and then you can get remove any kind of engineers associated to do this work, or they're creating some kind of an error while provisioning the resources. It can happen, right? Because whenever there is a human intervention to do the boring stuff, definitely there can mistakes can happen over there. So Power Automate comes to help you out to make sure that you are interfacing multiple systems, and then you get the task done without a human intervention, and also avoiding human errors. So this is one sort of a demo. I want to show it from the external interface. That's from the Microsoft form. And comes this here comes the another example, that is another flow which allows you to interface with your Outlook. That's through the email system. So this is like not complex, I say, but that's okay. You can easily understand what I'm planning to do here. Instead of me asking my manager to go to the pipeline and approve to provision some resources, probably your manager can be traveling and he has just mail access. He has no other access to any system. You can just go ahead and click on approve button in the email and you can do some activity. So what I'm doing here is I'm just sending some email. All right. So when the new email arrives to some kind of a distribution list or some functional account or specific engineer or to yourself also saying that create a storage account or create something like that, you can plan for this kind of an orchestration. So now, flow. So once this is filled in saying that this is my email to address from this person, I'm not filtering any subjects. I don't want to make it too complex. Any emails which we get in. So now I'm retrieving the subject here. That's my variable. I'm initializing a variable so that I'm getting the value. Whatever you key into the subject, that's going to be my resource name, just for a simple demo. And then I'm starting up a workflow approval here, start and wait approval. So it will wait until the action has been taken. It can be approval or it can be rejected. And then I just go to the conditional block here for the responses. So I'm saying that if it is approved, S, so responses is equal to approved, the condition says S, then you do the deployment. If it is no, just go ahead and say that this is rejected, right? So now here again, I'm using the same create or update template deployment to the resource group where I'm pulling out the subject as my resource name here. So this is what exactly it's going to do. So now I don't want to tamper anything. I just leave it as it is. And I just come to the flows, open up my, just quickly open up my Outlook. Right, I've got some trouble there. Let me open up my Outlook here now. So now I just go to a new message and I send an email. So I'm sending it to my O365 box and say like new STG GPB 2022. So the storage account has to be unique. So you can't create multiple storage account with the same name. So I just want to try that. Hopefully they should be available. I'm not sure. Better I'll just create like, okay, a new something like that. Just send this email. So it hits my inbox. After a few seconds or a minute, I should be seeing an approval email flowing in. So I've got an email. So it's 5:54 a.m. So it should be in a minute. Let's hold for that. So I've got a mail now from the Microsoft Flow, which is like it's like seeking out an approval. So now I just go ahead and say approve. So what happens now? I go to my resource group deployments. I don't see any deployment started. Probably it should take a couple of minutes. Meanwhile, I just go to my GPP flow and see, is there any history here for today's date, 10:25 a.m. It's running it. That's good. Why you can see multiple stuff here is I've started a couple of things to test this demo and I've not taken action on my approval. I've not approved or rejected. I just deleted. So it just stuck there. It's not going to take any action for that. So now I just do a refresh here just to see, is there any? I think there was one deployment happened.
Chen?
Yeah, sorry.
This is Permal. I think in your Outlook, I think you have not clicked the submit button. Due to this, the deployment is not yet complete. In the Outlook, You have clicked the approve, but you have not clicked the submit button.
Oh, sorry that,
Yeah.
about that.
Okay.
Yeah. That's correct. Yes, I think now I did it correctly. Let's see. Okay, now I just want to click on the deployments to see. Yeah, now the deployments. Thanks, Vimal. That's my bad. So now I see the deployment is started. So what it's going to do is it's going to provision one more storage account. That's it. This is another way you can take an approval through the Exchange Online using the Outlook 365. Sorry, O 365. Okay, this is one other way. So another thing I have to show you is in my Microsoft flows, I've got some event-driven automation. This is very important. Where see the characteristics remains same. You can achieve the same thing using Azure Functions also, or you can build your own microservices and you can run it on the container apps or container instances also. You can achieve the same thing. There is no difference saying that if it's supporting the input and output binding or it is supporting some kind of triggers. Function app does it, right? So you can do catch some event and take an action on it. But over there, you need to write some code. Over here, you don't do that. You can avoid writing a code. That's the main difference here. So I have got some kind of event-driven solution. Whenever I am going to upload something to my blob, I need to notify someone. That's a pretty straightforward thing. You can take any kind of an action. When blob is coming in, you can just go ahead and take a complex workflows here, send a notification to one person, and then you just go ahead and take some action on that. Whatever you can do, you can add multiple steps here. So here I've just made a subscription, selected my subscription, Azure's cloud subscription. That's the only one I have got. And you can choose any kind of a resource type. For now, this particular API, this is, I mean, you consider this connector as one API, right? So it supports only limited, right? So you can just choose whatever you want. I am choosing the storage accounts and I pick up storage account name. How this is authenticated is because I'm using the correct ID in the correct directory. And then I say event type. When the blob is deleted, created, or renamed, whatever it is, I'm just selected the created. So what happens? A person log into my portal, get onto the storage account, upload something to my blob, somebody gets notification. That's it. It can be anyone. So in your organization, I'm using my own email address here. I'm sending a subject and your body supports the HTML format too. So you can go ahead and type in here. I am not typed it by myself. I've got an extension for this. So if you go to the email template, in the VS Code, you have got an extension for HTML. You can install it. If not, you can just click here and then type in for HTML. And then you can install the snippet. I don't know which version I've got, but I still have the extension. So if I come to my blob created HTML, you can just do Shift-1, that is exclamatory, and then push enter. It's going to give you the skeleton. And over here, you can just start typing the HTML body. So that's how I did this. And here I'm picking up the event type and the event ID inside the table so that I can retrieve the event ID, event type, that is blob created, and event ID. Is there any other information I can get in? Let me see. So what information I may get here is about the subject and about the topic and something like that. Yeah, that's possible. You can just choose anything, but I don't know how useful it is. Of course, event type and ID is also not useful. Just for a demo, I'm just showing it off. If you want to do some kind of an additional data processing here, something like you want to concatenate with something else, or you want to show it in a different way, you can use the expression and you can key in some formulas. More or less, if you're good in Excel, you can just do that. So something like that, concat, and then I can choose some values, and then you can do that. It's a lot of functions available, inbuilt function, you can make use of it. So now that I just stop here, I just click on save. What I do is I just go to my Azure portal, refresh, this deployment is done, GBB flow, and then I go to the resource. So you should be seeing some storage account has been created. That's good. That's the previous demo's output. Now I'm going to my storage account. I go to my containers. I click on the container and I say, sorry, I upload on the existing container itself. Just choose some file, something like this. I upload it. started uploading. I don't know how big it is. It's good. Meanwhile, let me upload some small files here. Overwrite it, upload it. Good. So this upload is completed. I come to my inbox. You see a mail arrived here, which says like, hey there, a blob is created successfully. This is your event type. This is a table. So let me show you that particular. I got 2 emails now after the upload. This is my subject line and this is my table. And over here, I just made one horizontal line. So that's what exactly I see in this. You see another approval email flowing in. That's because I didn't put the subject filtering for my another demo, right, which I showed for the Outlook approval start and wait. That's why it's coming up. That's okay. You can just ignore this. Okay, I can make use of for the rejection. I just go ahead and say like this approval is sorry, this request is rejected, and I click on a submit. Again, it's going to trigger another approval email. That's okay. This is how the rejected email looks. So here I've taken the static text, hey there, and your request is rejected. That's because that's the mail I typed in. That's the details I've given it. So this is how you can build one approval based, email based approval for Automate flow. It's pretty straightforward and simple. I need to just go for one more demo quickly. So if I go to my flows, what I've got is a queue storage. This is another good example which administrator likes to do. When you're going to send some data to the storage account queue, you need to process that action. So for that, what kind of action I'm taking, I'm not sure. Let me see. Okay, I'm doing some kind of a storage deployment again. So here I'm using some storage AX. I'm creating one more storage account here. I give owner name like GPP 2022, and unless we don't tamper this JSON, we are good. You don't need to indent it, but just to make sure this is a valid JSON. The beauty of Power Automate Builder here is if I miss something here, the flow checker is going to give you that error. Says that it's not right way of doing. So now that I've got another example where I can upload it to my storage queue. I'm uploading it to the same storage account. So let me come back here to my flows and go to my storage account. I go to my queues. This is my queue. I'm going to add a message here saying this is for a demo. So this message expires in 7 days. After 7th day, if your message is not processed for a week, there is no action is going to take. But if this message is processed, it won't be in a queue. It will move off. So now I'm just going to click on OK. You see a message here. And I come back to my. You can see this should start a new flow actually. Let me show that. This is the queue and this should be my resource group. It should take a few minutes to come in. Once the flow is triggered, you should be seeing this. So this is GPP. Okay. So it started at 10th. Okay, yeah, here it is. This is the name I created with AZ suffix and the owner name is GPP 2022 in the tag. So we have seen two different type of event trigger. One is on the blob and one is on the storage queue. So you can plan accordingly. When the message is coming in, you can take some kind of an action. Okay, now comes another big challenge for the administrator. How do I take some kind of complex thing. I can't run PowerShell script directly on the Power Automate, wherein I can run some JavaScript. So I don't know JavaScript, but I have a PowerShell script available to take some action when some event triggers. You don't need to worry a lot. You can just quickly go to Azure Function app and you deploy your Azure Function app with the PowerShell script, and you can come back here to the flow, and then what you do is you can just for a demo, I'm just showing it. Just skip it. I just say like manually trigger a flow and a new step. Just say HTTP trigger. I pick this HTTP trigger. You can just come up here and then give a go. I'm not sure whether I have some function I've created and available. Okay, I have something here. I don't have any functions, but if you have that URL, what you do is you just come back here to your HTTP trigger, key in this information, and that's going to work as expected. That means you have a HTTP trigger, which is going to do some activity on your Azure resources. So you can code it that in the function app through PowerShell script, deploy it, and then use that URL here, key in this header query value body, and then you save it. And that's it. You can very well go ahead and work with your Azure resources using function app too. If you can't run the PowerShell script directly, I mean, you can't run PowerShell script directly on the Power Automate, but still there is an alternative way to do it. And you can also very well create a custom connector. Okay, let me leave this. Okay, you can go to create some kind of a custom connectors. Here is that option. So when you're creating a custom connector, what I observed is there is one other problem. Your function app can't be greater than runtime version 1, but the current version is 4. So the inbuilt service is not going to allow you that. So you need to plan accordingly how you can build some kind of an API and then build your own custom connector. So that custom connector itself a big topic, but we can cover it sometime later, or probably I can share some links that could help you out. So using this, you can just administer not only Azure, you can pick up any kind of a platform, and you can work efficiently. So that's it all from my side. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for your time. And let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah, we had one question related to environment, how we can create environments like that. How do we need to set up environment?
Okay, that is again, there are a couple of ways to do that, setting up the directories. I will definitely bring that link because that is not easy to explain quickly. Considering the timeline, but I will definitely give the hyperlink. There is a step-by-step procedure for that. I will give you that in the chat in hardly another 5-10 minutes.
Thank you. Thanks, Chen. Guys, if you have any questions, please unmute yourself and then you can ask. We have 5 more minutes.
Hey, hi, Chen. This is Badrinath.
Hi, Badri.
Hi. So I created one flow in Power Automate. So it usually needs to send some emails, based on the conditions. But here the problem is the from email, right? Send as it is coming from my email, but it needs to come from, some no reply at the rate like the organization.com, something like that. It should come. So what we need to do from that address, actually that from address, what we need to specify. If I give any no reply at the rate sharepoint.online.com, if I give that, the error is coming saying that you are not authorized, some error is coming in the flow. So
correct. That's because when you are picking up this particular connector, if you're sending it from the PowerShell using send mail message, or you're using any APIs, it will evaluate it, but it won't look into the from. But in this connector, it will do. So to overcome it, another organization also had the same issue. So what they did is they created one mailbox, no reply at whatever the domain that is authorized, because in this particular API connector, you need to resolve that email address. If that email address is not resolved, it won't authorize it. You got it, right? So that should be a object, a mail object in your Exchange Online. That is why it won't allow you to send an email. It won't recognize it because it thinks that there is somebody is trying to misuse that. Most of the organization, if you see, they will be building some kind of amber, red, and green. They don't allow the Exchange Online connector itself because of this issue. So you can create a dummy box and then you can make use of that to authorize. That's the way to go, Badri.
Right. Sure. Thank you, Chen.
Yeah, thank you. How to generalize the deployment? I'm sorry, Vignesh. I just take another 5 minutes. I think Feroz is ready by this time. To generalize the deployment of Azure is based on the environment in Power Automate. Jyoti, I'm not sure what is the question context here. What environment you're talking about? Power Platform environment, or you're talking about the Azure environment? Is the deployment of Azure resources based on the environment in Power Automate? All right, you can do that because when you are authorizing to Azure subscription, you can also go ahead and pick up the particular resource group because it's a resource group deployment, right? You can choose the specific resource group, but I'll tell you for the demo, I've used the create and update deployment API, right? So that is not going to be helpful in the production most of the time because the scenario differs. It's a very good question you asked. How do I deploy development, UAT, and production if I'm not wrong? So in that case, what you do is you can go ahead and invoke the HTTP API and then pass in the OAuth context. You have to generate a bearer token and then you can deploy it. That will be easy for you to achieve the environment-based deployment in the ARM template, and then dynamically you can pass in the value and deploy it. But having said that, please do not consider this as a replacement of your DevOps environment, like you are deploying it from the release pipeline, like dev, UAT and things. No, you can integrate your DevOps and then you can play around there. So you can directly call DevOps pipeline, release pipeline, and then deploy the Azure resources with the approval or whatever. You don't need to run the ARM template API inside your Power Automate. There are multiple ways. Sorry, I'm running out of time, but if you connect with me in email, I'm ready to help you out with that scenarios too. Can we configure holiday calendar in Automate scheduler recurrence step? In the direct API, you can't, but you can add a step to check the condition. You need to write the condition by yourself, or you can have some kind of a JSON file, which will be the response of your API, and then you can evaluate it dynamically. Natively, sorry, it is not applicable. If an automate is possible through Logic Apps and Power Automate, how to pick which one to go for? That's the very deepest question, because every time we get that, which one to pick it up, because both has, again, as I said, is a common characteristics, right? If you have Azure environment and you have a Logic App, you can very well do it. But in my experience, I'll tell, if I want to pick up a Logic App solution for an enterprise level, I need to pay more than what I'm doing it on the Power Automate. If you ask me how, consider I have 100 plus subscriptions at my environment. I need to segregate, isolate the environment for the HR, IT financing, or any confidential, most confidential data, or inside the subscription. I mean, one subscription, I need to make 3 different environments: development, UAT, or production, whatever it is, right? So I need to provision Logic App accordingly, right? Wherein in Power Automate, I can segregate it with the environment. So that way, I consider that picking a Power Automate is good, but not all time, because Logic App has got a inbuilt with Azure services like a VM. If you have compute, where you have got some tasks, Logic App comes in handy where you can do some kind of a VM automation. So that is going to grow up a lot, right? So that will avoid to write a scripts. You don't need to provision Power Automate separately to do some work. That is also parallelly growing. So completely depends on the scenario. So hope that answers, Meera. To use a flow across multiple Azure tenants. Yes, you can use it multiple across tenants because you need to generate a token when you are going to authorize it, right? So of course you can use it. But the thing is, when you're building the flow, that account should have a permission. You should be in that directory. That's one way. If you're going to use it through service principal, that is like using SPN secrets, identity and stuff, you can very well authenticate it because you are going to generate a bearer token and authorize to the Azure tenant. It's possible. SB, sorry, I don't know your name. So excellent, Veera. Yeah, you can do that. You can connect with me. You can Connect with me in Twitter. That should be easy, or in LinkedIn. That's my Twitter handle.
Yeah, Chen, you
Thanks.
can post your LinkedIn or Twitter profile link in the chat